Welcome to another live stream, my friends. Jerome Powell's speech has sparked some volatility in the market, which is usually the case. So what's next for Bitcoin? I want to take a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. So with that, let's start by looking at my 4-hour Bitcoin chart here, you guys. Unfortunately, you guys, in my last couple streams, I've been talking about this asymmetrical triangle that we have in the cards. Unfortunately, we never did end up holding this old resistance as new support. I mean, I would have loved to see that triangle end up flipping, and it did. I actually caught a couple of scalps off the retests. However, I was not able to get any kind of a running position out of those. So at this point, as far as longs go, I just have that original swing long from about 104.8K. That is my only long position at this point. I have a scalp running on the short at this point. We'll see how that ends up going. I'll get into that in a second. It is a level that I mentioned in my Telegram, you guys. But right now, my main concern, you guys, you know that I was talking about this triangle potentially breaking upward, and the measured move of that actually ends up taking us back towards our all-time highs. That would have been great. And to be honest, it's still possible. There is still reasons I think we could see some more upside, but we saw some early warning signs, basically. I was expecting this to end up, getting a proper breakout retest and then ending up getting back up to at least our resistance level in the macro timeframes, up towards about 120, basically anywhere from 120 to 130K is fair game for a big rejection, in my opinion. But we have to get there first. And at this point, the fact that we had this opportunity to do a nice aggressive breakout, that's a nice consolidated triangle there. And on the 1 hour, it actually had a third touch point here as well. On the 4 hour, we don't really see it. So maybe that's why we're seeing a bit of weakness already. But the fact that we dropped back into this triangle does raise some concerns for me. And guys, I did even point this out in my Telegram earlier today, just basically saying that I did not like to see that we drop back into the triangle. And from there, we actually ended up getting basically a perfect retest of that triangle. I know in yesterday's live stream, I had mentioned being interested in shorting a retest on something like that. So at this point, I mean, it's hard to say what's going to happen, but I am having to lean a little bit bearish at this point, you guys, and mostly because of this, the fact that we dropped back into the triangle. And guys, if you do want to see more examples of these warnings ahead of time and just how I pull Fibonacci's and just getting comfortable with how I look at market structure and retests and fibs and some of my personal favorites, trading strategies, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code, get in there. To be fair, guys, I mean, full disclosure, I have lost a couple of scalps in the last few days. Nothing serious, nothing that I'm all too concerned about, just because I was trying to play this breakout on shorter time frames. I caught a few scalps to the upside that did play out, but a couple that haven't. But that is trading, and having those invalidations in place is also a very important part with trading. And guys, also, if that's something that interests you, if you want to see, I do share all of my trade signals from the Telegram group in the new Discord as well. This is just a sneak peek, so there is a 3-day delay there, but just for full transparency, everything gets posted in there as well, you guys. But obviously, if you want the up-to-date, the on-the-spot signals and that sort of thing, you need to get into the Telegram. That being said, guys, my partners at BloFin are also offering this. This is for new members only, but people who want to get involved with my Telegram and sign up to a no KYC exchange like BloFin, they do have these current deposit and trade volume bonuses for, like I said, just for new people. And obviously, if you are signing up under me on BloFin, that gets you access into my Telegram channel as well. And guys, just a little bit of a list that Grok threw together to me using AI to kind of look at some of my favorite exchanges. And this right here is basically one of the main reasons why I'm comfortable trading on BloFin and why I continue to be partnered with them, because just according to AI, seems like one of the best choices when trying to play things safe, and as well having no KYC. So if that is something that interests you, get involved there. But that being said, guys, let's just let's zoom out before anything, because this did catch my attention earlier. And I know I've been talking about this for weeks at this point. The fact that I had this order block on my radar and saying that, if we end up losing this, turning it into a breaker block and then flipping that support into resistance, we could be in trouble. And that is what we're seeing right now. So I have mixed feelings about this one as well, you guys. And I've been saying for a while that I think we're in a dangerous spot because we are in the middle of such a large range. But, this is why I have mixed signals. One is we absolutely have a bullish swing fail here, right? Even if I pull my fibs basically from this low to this slightly higher high, because this wick is higher than the wicks back here. So that's my higher high. We did not break my 115 fib, which would be down around 104K. So the fact that we held this support and just got that swing fail so far, not all hope is lost with that for me. Even if that is a bearish structure break, because it's technically a little bit lower, still possible that we bounce higher into the range for that resistance retest, right? It's the problem I have right now is this order block that ended up pushing us to new highs with our highest candle body close on the weekly in history. The fact that we lost that block and are now respecting it as resistance, yeah, we got a little wick above, but again, we are just looking at closing candle bodies inside or below this new resistance, right? So we're going to have to see how this looks on Sunday. But yeah, if the bulls can't reclaim this box, and that would be basically closing above 115K. In my opinion, the bulls need to reclaim that. They need to close a weekly candle above that box. And until that happens, that could be very serious resistance for Bitcoin and cause us a lot of problems for that parabolic run that we keep getting promised. Now, to zoom right in, you guys, as I mentioned, I was in a little bit of a scalp. I'm still in a little bit of a scalp. But I had mentioned in the Telegram, did I actually point out that one? I don't know if, yeah. So basically, as we were trading up to it, I was mentioning that that now we'll see if this is actually a V-shaped recovery, or we're just basically getting a retest, a bearish retest of resistance. So I ended up taking a bit of a short on here. After we hit the 786 the first time here, I obviously already hit my first target there. So my position's a little bit smaller now. And to be fair, it could still take a loss. I haven't updated my stop loss to break even on this one yet. But I did end up taking some profits down here. So that would, for one, it would make my position smaller if I do get stopped out from here. And for two, that just adds a cushion, right? Because the fact that I took some profits, at least that will help cushion if I end up getting invalidated. Because basically the way this Stuber lines up right now, invalidation basically above 112.4 to give it a little extra wiggle room, call it 112.5. Basically, if we break above that, that means that we are also reclaiming this trend line here. And it has had several respecting touch points, right? The fact that we had this touch point, like I said, on the 1 hour, there's another one there, but on the 4 hour, we also have our touch here, and basically retested it again. Actually, that first red candle right here retested it, or the first one to retest it, that is. So yeah, basically that's a very well respected trend line at this point. So if we get above it, plus we would be getting above my 5-minute bearish Stuber resistance, at that point I would just cut my losses on that position, because at this point it is still just a scalp. We haven't even hit my second scalp target yet. If we do, I will bump my stop loss to break even, and from there I would let my position run. But we'll see if I'm lucky enough to get that. But that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. How are you guys all feeling about the market, by the way? Let me know in the chat how you're feeling. Are you bearish? Do you think it's all over? Do you think that we are about to go parabolic, like what I keep seeing on social media? How are you guys feeling? And guys, if you have appreciated these live streams, you appreciate me keeping a level head in these crazy volatile times. I know it's very stressful to try and find new positions and stuff if you're not familiar. The fact that I have a running long position from 104.8K makes me able to keep a level head and not be FOMOing into, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm taking some scalps to the upside when we were trading above that triangle. But as far as looking for a swing position, at least I have one that's running. And that's why I love to let my runners run. That's why I still have part of my Aster position running, most of my Aster position running, and still have a good chunk of my Bitcoin position running, is because it's just a very stress-free position to be in. I'm not one of those guys who thinks that, hey, I need to either let my position run or close the whole thing, right? If I ever have those feelings, I'll take a little bit of profits on my position. But at this point, like I've said several times in my previous streams, I still have about 40% of this position running. Even when we took this downturn, I didn't care. I just left my stop loss at break even, let it keep running, because I like to let runners run if I get the opportunity. Now we're going to see if that happens with my shorts from my 786 here, basically. So we will see what happens with that. Let's see who's all in the chat here. KSEP, I believe there is a huge BTC expiry on Friday. Stay safe out there, guys. And yeah, that's one of those things, much like the FOMC meeting, is so those events absolutely spark volatility. So when I talk about fundamentals not mattering with trading, you guys, that's not entirely true. Fundamentals do matter. They cause price action to happen, but trading those fundamentals is the hard part. I only know one person in my life who trades fundamentals well. He's not trading a 1 minute, a 5 minute, not a 1 hour or a 4 hour. He's trading the weekly, and he's willing to wait years for his trades to play out. That's very different than people who want to try and trade fundamentals on a 5 minute chart. So that's what, it's not that fundamentals don't matter, you guys. It's just that trying to trade them is incredibly difficult. And guys, it's funny, you know, I started the stream off by talking about how Powell's speech sparked volatility in the markets. To be 100% honest, you guys, right now at this exact minute, I have no freaking clue what he announced. I don't know if we got rate cuts or not. I have no idea. I don't care. Honestly, I try to ignore those things. I mean, you can let me know in the chat if you want. That's the only way I'm going to find out. I literally try to avoid those kinds of announcements because I think they cloud judgment. You know, what happens if we ended up getting a rate cut? Again, I don't know if we did or not, but we end up breaking that structure and forming a downtrend anyways. I mean, right, it doesn't necessarily... that's just why I don't try and trade fundamentals and why I don't listen to announcements. I always say this, guys, trade charts, not tweets. Same thing goes for announcements and stuff like that. If the announcements and if those fundamentals are going to matter, you will see it in the chart structure. That's all there is to it. If they're going to change the direction of the trend, you will see it happen, as long as you understand basic analysis like lower lows or higher highs and which way a market is trending, basically. That's what the fundamentals do for us. They can pick the direction, but it will be the technicals that show us which way to trade it, basically. Another big concern that I have, you guys, is look at how much, as soon as we got back up to this little resistance level in the middle of this gigantic range, right? Because you guys know this is kind of the bearish retest I was looking for was actually higher. But the fact that we came to this resistance here, and as soon as we got to that resistance, look what happened with retail longs. Retail longs exploded. I mean, and even on the way down, we just see that as we're coming down, we see retail aggressively trying to long the dip because everybody thinks that this parabolic run is guaranteed. And don't get me wrong, it could happen. And if it does, I'm going to be very excited, just like everybody else. But at this time, you can just see how as soon as we end up hitting major resistance levels, that's where you kind of see that retail starts longing aggressively again. And basically, as long as retail is climbing with their long positions and building long positions out of FOMO, we will see the price continue to drop to the downside. Let's just zoom into the 1 hour, make it a little more clear on a shorter time frame, a more reasonable time frame. So don't get me wrong, as we get down to important support levels, like it's very possible that we see shorts start stepping in because retail generally gets bearish at support. But you can just see on this chart as well, right, where basically where the longs bottomed, where the market started getting very bullish at resistance and starting to long again. That's exactly where our downtrend started, right? As retail starts to long, we see the price go to the downside. It's just fuel for the market makers, basically. So as long as retail longs are climbing, sorry guys, it is what it is. as long as that's climbing and the shorts are dropping, we will see the price continue to drop as well. That can change at any time. Like I said, as soon as we get to more important support levels, in my opinion, that's where we'll see retail starting to FOMO short into support. In that case, we could absolutely see a bounce. But at this time, it's looking a little rough. Like I said, especially on the daily here, you can see that there is, I mean, that this will actually update in an hour, but we really saw longs step in as we got to resistance. And unfortunately, that is fuel for a fire, in my opinion. And if we zoom in, let's go back to the 4 hour, just bring up one of my favorite indicators lately is the MDX liquidations indicator. And you can see that at this point, we are in the middle, like I keep saying, the middle of a very large range. I mean, there's liquidity all the way up to 127,000 US dollars. And there's also a bunch of liquidity all the way down to $98,000. So there is reasons for market makers to push us either direction in this point, if you ask me. So it's just, again, when looking for those swing positions, unfortunately, we're right in the middle. It's very risky no matter which way you want to look at it. Let me actually undo that, because I want to turn off that indicator, and let's also erase all my drawings, and let's just look at basic market structure, right? Let's just go from where we got our last bottom and we started trending to the upside ever since we topped out here. Where was our last little bit of structure? This would have been where we had our high and our higher high, because this is where we got our little pullback in the market. And this would have been our new confirmed higher low. We dropped that level. We set a lower low. That means that this is now our confirmed pivot point. And since that, we have set another lower low. So now we have a confirmed lower high, right? Let's just make this more permanent here. Let's do something like that. At approximately 113.6 thousand on the 4 hour, as far as this immediate downtrend, that is our new lower high. So we have a downtrend. We broke this uptrend that we had. And until we reverse that kind of structure, unfortunately, we have a downtrend right now. It's absolutely possible we do something like this, in which case you'll probably see retail start longing aggressively into resistance. We would get some sort of a pullback, and then we would get, this is just obviously very theoretical, only if we break this level, but that would be the typical type of Stuber fib setup, right? If we break that structure and then come back, get our pullback, our retest. I would love to get bullish in that sort of a scenario, but at this time, we unfortunately still have this downtrend here. And I mean, it's even very noticeable on the 5 minute here, right? Ever since we retested that triangle level. Well, let's look at this. Here was our low. This is our lower low. There's no structure between that. That is our low. This is our lower low. This is our confirmed lower high, which just so happens to be that perfect retest. And since that, we've came into the Stuber fib pocket. We actually already had it play out once, right? Like I was saying for my first take profit there. But we came back up to this level. That's one reason why it's a little riskier now playing the short side of things, but technically resistance is resistance until it's broken, but it has already hit its first target once. So it just becomes a little bit riskier, but either way, we are still in a downtrend until we reclaim that triangle and until we basically break 112.5K. Just catching up on the chat a little bit here, my friends. Thank you so much for being here with me once again as well, my friends. And if you have been appreciating these live streams pretty much daily here, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here. Those likes and subscribes go a long ways for me right now. Obviously, still a very new channel. Basically, I don't even know if it's a month old at this point. So those go a long way. Brian, good to see you here. Adrian, great to see you here. Dan Rab, I'm going to mispronounce that, but Slavastar, let's go with that. Hurley, good to see so many familiar faces who keep coming back. Really appreciate it, you guys, and some new faces as well. So love to see it. Is a bearish pull from 115.8K to 103.4. 115.8. So down to this level here. What are you? Yeah, 103.4. So you're talking about this fib pull right here, my friend? So here's the reason, although it can act like a Stuber fib, it technically isn't a Stuber fib. And my reasoning for that is because although this is a nice little pivot here, we never did break this low, right? This is not a confirmed lower high on the trend because this actually just ended up setting a higher low there. If this wick had come down to here, for example, then we would have our low and our lower low, in which case I would absolutely consider that a valid Stuber fib. This could very well still play out like one. It's just not, it just doesn't have all of my structure criteria, but neither did my long, right? This long that I took from down here, I treated it like a Stuber fib by longing the 786, but it technically wasn't because we never did break any sort of lower high, right? This was not a lower high break because, again, we never had a lower low followed by a lower high. Our lower high technically still way up there. So it could still play out like one. It's just not, it doesn't meet all the criteria for an actual Stuber fib is all. Good question, though. Stu, can you have a look at gold on the 15 and the 1 hour? I can do that. Let's check out the 1 hour. So the 1 hour, technically, let me just erase a couple things. So I have a little bit of conflicting stories here. One, we did lose this higher buy signal that we had, these trending higher buy and higher sell signals. We did drop below the pivot from our highest buy. So that is a bit of a concern to me that this sell trend could just continue to the downside. As far as naked structure goes, we do technically have a Stuber here if I were a betting man, and I definitely am. We actually tested the 786 perfectly, so it's already getting a little late because we're already close to the first target. But technically, we did break this level, right? So if this was low, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and we technically got above that. So yeah, I mean, there is potential support here right where it founded. It would make sense, but it is just risky because, again, as far as looking for confluence with my indicators like the MDX Trendmaster, we did technically lose that uptrend. So it's a little bit risky there. The 15-minute will very much show the same thing, right? It'll be the exact same structure, however you want to look at it. The 15-minute has higher buys and higher sells at this point. But yeah, you can see same thing. We could actually zoom in on the structure a little bit more and say this was our low, that's our lower low, this was our lower high, and we broke that as well. So either way, we have the same kind of a pullback, right? We would chase the price with the fibs and wait for that pullback, and we caught a perfect 786 test right there. So it hasn't quite hit the first target, but it got very close already. So mixed feelings on gold right now. It broke a very large uptrend. I think gold could be in trouble, but we'll see. Trendmaster, yeah, we have a sell signal, a much higher sell signal. So basically, if we would reclaim this range, like really, if gold could get basically back above 4,070, I would think that it's, at least going to run and retest the highs, because that's the thing, right? Even though there is a downtrend right now, the downtrend could actually continue after a full macro retest, just like I would pull fibs on Bitcoin, right? If we end up breaking the micro downtrend, basically, then we would expect to end up testing the higher time frames ones. Did they cut rates? That's a good question, Hurley. Still couldn't tell you. I have no idea. I kind of ignored that on purpose today. Do I think that's a good question on Bitcoin? Do I think we have an ascending triangle instead of an asymmetrical one? At this point, it is possible. It actually looks more like a wedge at this point. I mean, I can see how you would just pull that flat across. I personally only use trend lines that are exact wicks. So mine looks something like this. It's absolutely possible, right? Um, at this point, like I said, we're in the middle of a big range, and any swing positions at this point are just dangerous to me. If we saw something like we come retest this support, for example, on a lower time frame, I mean, yeah, there's potential to get into some sort of a position there, but as always, I would be starting it as a scalp, basically removing my risk very quickly and paying myself along the way. And if it turns into a swing, fantastic, but I wouldn't really be banking on it just because things look weak, and because, like I said, there's liquidity on either side of us. It's just like there's so much liquidity down below our lows of this range. There's so much down there, and just like we got in that few hours that one day, it's very possible we end up going and grabbing all that 10x 20x leverage liquidations. It's very possible. Yeah, Adrian gets it. Market's still not clear overall. I agree 100%, buddy. But Biddy, I am happy with my 2 big ass shorts. That is fantastic to hear. Love it. Yeah. Thank you for the hard work. Thank you for being here with me. Yeah, tough to find positions in the middle of range. Appreciate your TA. So true, so true. And thank you for that, by the way. Appreciate you being here. There's a rate cut in the upcoming months, but it was expected by the rumors and sell the news event. Very classic. Cut its benchmark interest rate by 0.25 percentage points. Jerome Powell hinted that the central bank might pause before further lowering borrowing costs. Yeah. Like I said, we'll just have to see. I'm going to let the charts do the talking. Actually, Dan Rab, I did want to actually end this stream here right away, but I do want to look at that one because I haven't yet. Hey, bro, if you got time, could you check a trade setup? I'm not sure was valid. Zcash, ZEC, on the 5 minute from 348 down to 348 down to 326. So I've actually, this is one before I get into years. I just want to look at the 4 hour because I actually have entered this trade as well. I got my 786 entry. I don't actually have an 886 entry on this one, but I have a few laddered entries in my red box up here for shorts on Zcash. I was talking about this one in detail, a little bit about this trend in yesterday's live stream. I pointed it out in the Telegram as well. But yeah, this is something that I'm very interested in because I just noticed how much FOMO there was around this guy and how much it has pumped. It pumped from basically 50 to 380 US dollars. Absolutely huge. And not too often it has lost that micro structure that I always talk about on the 4 hour. The only times it did was right here. We ended up losing and dropping 30% really quick. And then also here, or however you want to say it, in this whole area, we ended up dropping that. Retest or not, that was the reversal, and we dropped 25% again. So ever since those couple of examples, basically since $50, those are the only other examples where we've broke this kind of structure. And that's why I was looking at it so much on the 4 hour yesterday, that fact that we had this high, higher high, confirmed higher low on this uptrend. And we broke that, right? So as far as if this was a 5 minute chart, I would treat it the exact same, right? Market structure is market structure. Not everyone trades the 5 minute, but the way I look at structure, it applies to 4 hour, daily, weekly, whatever. It's all the same. Market structure is structure. But after breaking a level like that, it's very often that you end up getting that retest. And that's why I said I very rarely do trade breakouts unless it's, again, as scalps first and then hope it turns into a run or whatever. But typically speaking, I like to play those retests. And this is a perfect example of that retest, right? We break structure. Everyone starts shorting it right away, but then we get that retest of resistance before carrying on that trend to the downside. And not even saying it has to happen, right? Here's the thing. I am very open to the idea that this could get invalidated. That's why invalidations are in place. That's why most of my orders are way up here to keep my invalidation tight, so I can really pull my average entry up from down here up towards these levels to keep my stop a lot tighter if we end up going up there. Just because if this gets invalidated, it could absolutely moon again, right? I mean, with the Trendmaster, we still technically, we did hold this 4-hour trend on the Trendmaster, right? We have this pink buy trend. Look at that call. Wow. What a call. And guys, I always talk about this strategy as well, the higher trending buy signals. Notice that higher buy signal, higher buy signal, higher buy signal, and then absolutely exploded. That is one of my favorite trade strategies as well. And that's a perfect example of it. Not saying it's always going to happen like that, but man, did that ever play out. But either way, getting back on track here, we are still holding that trend. Now, eventually trends break, but we are still holding it. So that's why I'm not opposed to the idea of this short going sour on me. In which case, yeah, okay, if I have my average entry somewhere in here and I get stopped out, so be it. For the size of potential reversal this could be the type of structure that ends a very large trend, right? So it's just a risk reward type of thing. If I get stopped out, so be it. That's trading. But that's one that I was very vocal about yesterday. I wanted to get on board with. As far as looking, Dan Rab, at yours, check the trade setup. ZEC on the 5-minute from 348 down to 326. Well, we ended up topping around 363. Oh, unless you're talking about, was this a trade setup back here? If that's exactly what you're talking about, I believe. Yeah, that very much so was a valid setup, and it played out beautifully, right? If you were entering at the 786, 886, and the 1, you would have hit 3 of your laddered in entries, and you hit your first target, second target at the 214 target. That's where your stops get bumped to break even. You would have broke even on the remaining half of your position. That would have played out beautifully. So if that's what you did, I think that's the fib you're looking at, because we obviously lost this structure here. Then you would have been looking at a fib pull something like this. So yeah, it did happen. It played out very fast. And that's why I'm always vocal about this too, you guys. When you take a position, you should be setting your invalidations and your take profits right when you enter a position. If you're waiting for those levels to hit and see how you feel at that time, that's where you lose that window, right? This was a 5-minute window where it nuked from basically the 886 right down to the bottom of the range. It was basically 5 minutes. So when you're trading shorter time frames, especially, those moves can happen very fast. But that was, yeah, if that's how you played it, that was very much so a successful Stuber fib setup. Good eye. Bitcoin dominance. I will check Bitcoin dominance at this point. I was kind of mixed feelings on it last I checked the daily. The daily was still holding support of the trend. So as long as that's a thing, I mean, the market doesn't look great, because I would love to see Bitcoin dominance drop off a cliff. That would show that altcoins are likely going to be healthy and the whole market's going to be pumped about that. If we are staying with risky, more so risk off assets, I consider Bitcoin a risk off asset just compared to other cryptos. But yeah, if we're more favoring Bitcoin and the dominance keeps climbing, that's not a good look for the crypto space as a whole. Anyways, my friends, as I mentioned, guys, if you do want to see more examples of how I look at market structure, how I pull my fibs, just my overall thoughts on the markets, more examples of my favorite trading strategies and that sort of thing, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen, get in my Telegram where I share some of these warnings ahead of time and that sort of thing. And guys, as I mentioned as well, there is a link in the description down below for an open Discord group there. This does share all of the signals that go into my Telegram as well. However, there is about a 3-day delay there. It's just more of a sneak peek than anything. And as I mentioned, you guys, my partners at BloFin currently giving people who are just new members only, people who are interested in my Telegram group, want to get signed up for this no KYC exchange under me, which grants you access. They are currently giving these deposit and trading volume bonuses for new members. So if that is something that interests you as well, that's just more incentive to get involved there. But yeah, guys, as it stands right now, be very careful. Boom, there's the 0.5 target on that Stuber fib setup a second time. Love to see it. Hopefully we end up hitting my main target down here. We will see. I will keep you updated in the Telegram if that happens. But yeah, my friends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So once again, if you appreciate these live streams and me just keeping a level head in these crazy times, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for watching once again. Peace.